4 chapters a day. I'm Officer Kim Iuic out of the Orlando camp. We're going to be reading today First Samuel chapters 8 through 11. All right, First Samuel chapters 8 through 11. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, Benjamin, it's on you, brother. All right, so the book of First Samuel, chapter 8 and verse 1. And it came to pass when Samuel was old that he made his sons judges over Israel. Now the name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second Abiah. They were judges in Beersheba, and his sons walked not in his ways, but turned aside after lucre, and took bribes and perverted judgment. I'm sorry. So it says his sons walked not in his ways, but turned aside after lucre and took bribes and perverted judgment. All right, so let's get a couple of precepts on that. Let's go to the book of Exodus, chapter 23 and verse 8. Hey, hold up, family, just a second. I got to respond to a message. All right, all right. Okay, let's go to the book of Exodus, chapter 23 and verse 8. And it says, and thou shalt take no gift, for the gift blindeth the wise and perverteth the words of the righteous. Okay, that gift is going into bribes. All right, we'll read it again. Thou shalt take no gift, for the gift blindeth the wise and perverteth the words of the righteous. Okay, let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 5. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 8. If thou seest the oppression of the poor and violent perverting of judgment and justice in a province, marvel not at the matter. For he that is higher than the highest regardeth, and there be higher than they. Okay, so what we're seeing is what we see today. Um, let's go back to 1 Samuel 8 and 3. And it says, and his sons walked not in his ways, but turned aside after lucre and took bribes and perverted justice. Okay, we see that same thing going on today in this political system, this political climate that we have now, and even in the church system. This is why the churches won't teach us who we are. They won't teach God's commandments. You see this when riots and unrest break out. You see the same pastors that are going out to calm down the people. Okay, so the same thing. All right, First Samuel chapter 8, verse 4. Then all the elders of Israel gathered themselves together and came to Samuel unto Ramah and said unto him, behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations. So they come to Samuel, they say, you know, your sons ain't righteous. They not righteous like you. They not walking in your ways. All right. So instead of them judging us, make us a king like all the other nations. Okay. What where do we see that today? Voting. We're saying the same thing today. Voting. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 17. Deuteronomy chapter 17 and verse 4. It says, when thou art come unto the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, and shall possess it, and shall dwell therein, and shall say, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me. Now, what are we reading? We're reading the words of Moses. All right, he's prophesying that this would happen. Moses, remember, Moses was shown the beginning, the end, and the midst of times. All right, he saw Israel bugging out. All right, he saw Israel rejecting the Lord. All right, so he wrote it in prophecies for us to read in Deuteronomy, verse 15. Thou shalt in any wise set him a king, or set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set a king over thee, that thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. Now, when we rejected the Lord in our own land, that's set up also for us to be what? Taken out of our own land, set in a land that we didn't know with oppressors. And now today, what are we doing? We're voting on, and a lot of times we'll hear uh, people say, well, this one is the lesser of two evils. Yeah, but they both evil. Okay. So now, because this is what we sought to do, we look at our condition now, and we've got Donald Trump, Joe Biden. Well, one is the lesser of two evils, but we rejected the Lord, said we want a king over us. We want to be like all the other nations. Let's go back to 1 Samuel 8, verse 6. But the thing displeased Samuel when they said, give us a king to judge us. And Samuel prayed unto the Lord. And the Lord said unto Samuel, hearken unto the voice of the people and all that they say unto thee. For they have not rejected thee. The heck is going on with this? All right, I'm just watching this internet fluctuation. Let me start back over in case it blanked out. 1 Samuel chapter 8, verse 6. But the thing displeased Samuel when they said, give us a king to judge us. And Samuel prayed unto the Lord. And the Lord said unto Samuel, hearken unto the voice of the people and all that they say unto thee. They have not rejected thee, but they have rejected me, that I shall not reign over them, according to all the works which they have done since the day that I brought them up out of Egypt, even unto this day, wherewith they have forsaken me and served other gods. So do they also unto thee. So the Lord is telling Samuel, just like they've rejected me, they're rejecting you and your counsel. Okay. Um, let's go from there. Let's go to Joshua. Joshua warned us about this. So we read the prophecy of Moses um, about us wanting a king like the other nations. But what we just read is, according to all the works they have done since the day that I brought them up out of Egypt, even unto this day, wherewith they have forsaken me and served other gods. So now we're asking for a king to judge us. All right. So let's get Joshua chapter 24. We're going to read 1 through 4, and then we're going to jump down. Joshua chapter 24, verse 1. And Joshua gathered all the tribes of Israel to Shechem and called for the elders of Israel and for their heads and for their judges and for their officers. And they presented themselves before God. And Joshua said unto all the people, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, your fathers dwelt on the other side of the flood in old time, even Terah, the father of Abraham, the father of Nahor, and they served other gods. And I took your father Abraham from the other side of the flood and led him throughout all the land of Canaan and multiplied his seed and gave him Isaac. And I gave unto Isaac and Jacob and Esau, and I gave unto Esau Mount Seir to possess it. But Jacob and his children went down into Egypt. Okay, so we went down into Egypt because of the famine, and then we ended up serving what? For 400 years. Let's jump down to verse 14. So this is Joshua chapter 24, verse 14. Now, therefore, fear the Lord and serve him in sincerity and in truth, and put away the gods which your fathers served on the other side of the flood and in Egypt, and serve ye the Lord. So when he said, serve the Lord in sincerity and truth, right? We read that in the New Testament, right? Let's get that right quick and come back. How do we serve the Lord in sincerity and in truth? Let's get John. The book of John, chapter 4, verse 24. God, God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. What is the spirit? John 6:63. The word, right? What is the truth? Psalms 119, 142, the law. Okay. So God is a spirit. They that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. So we have a lot of people that today say they love the Lord. They say they love the Lord, but yet they don't do any of the commandments of the Lord. They don't truly show that they have the faith of Christ because they don't keep the commandments. So let's go back to Joshua 24 and 14. It says, now therefore fear the Lord and serve him in sincerity and in truth. Okay, so if you're sincere about serving the Lord, you're going to keep the commandments, right? And put away the gods which your father served on the other side of the flood and in Egypt, and serve ye the Lord. And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom ye will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land ye dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And you know, a lot of us have had we have had what plaques in our homes, or you grew up, your parents or your grandparents had that plaque in the house. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord, and they kept not now precept or commandment. Still eating pork, you know what I'm saying? Still serving on Sunday, still going to church on Sunday, still keeping those wicked pagan holidays of our oppressors, right? Verse 16. And the people answered and said, God forbid that we should forsake the Lord to serve other gods. So what we saying? We're not going to do that. No, we're not going to do that. For the Lord our God, he it is that brought us up out of and our fathers out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage, and which did those great signs in our sight, and preserved us in all the way wherein we went, and among all the people through whom we passed. And the Lord drave out from before us all the people, even the Amorites, which dwelt in the land. Therefore, we will also serve the Lord, for he is our God. And Joshua said unto the people, ye cannot serve the Lord, for he is an holy God. He is a jealous God. He will not forgive your transgressions nor your sins. If ye forsake the Lord and serve strange gods, he will turn and do you hurt and consume you after that he hath done you good. And the people said unto Joshua, Nay, but we will serve the Lord. And Joshua said unto the people, Ye are witnesses against yourselves that ye have chosen you, the Lord, to serve him. And they said, We are witnesses. Now therefore put away, he said, the strange gods which are among you, and incline your heart unto the Lord God of Israel. And the people said unto Joshua, The Lord our God we will serve, and his voice will we obey. Okay, so we made that choice, we made that covenant, we were going to serve the Lord. Let's go back. Let's go back. First Samuel chapter 8. And we're going to start at 7 again. First Samuel chapter 8, verse 7. And the Lord said unto Samuel, Hearken unto the voice of the people and all that they say unto thee. For they have not rejected thee, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them, according to all the works which they have done since the day that I have brought them up out of the land, out of Egypt, even unto this day, wherewith they have forsaken me and served other gods. So do they also unto thee. I just thought about something. Let me see if I can find this other precept right quick. If not, I'm not going to spend much time looking for it. Just hit me. Just hit me. Just hit me. Okay, let's um let's go to the book of Luke. Let's go to the book of Luke 19. The book of Luke chapter 19 verse 12. All right. He said, therefore, a certain nobleman went into a far country to receive for himself a kingdom and to return. And he called his 10 servants and delivered them 10 pounds and said unto them, Occupy till I come. But his citizens hated him and sent a message after him saying, We will not have this man to reign over us. This is speaking about Christ. We will not have Christ. We will not have Christ to reign over us. And it came to pass that when he was returned, having received the kingdom, then he commanded these servants to be called unto him, to whom he had given the money, and he might know how much every man had gained by trading. Then came the first, saying, Lord, thy pound hath gained 10 pounds. And he said unto him, Well, thou good servant, because thou hast been faithful in a very little, thou authority over 10 cities. And the second came, saying, Lord, thy pound hath gained 5 pounds. And he said likewise to him, Be thou also over 5 cities. And another came, saying, Lord, behold, here is thy pound, which I have kept laid up in a napkin. For I feared thee, because thou art an austere man. Thou takest up that thou layest not down, and reapest that thou didst not sow. And he said unto him, Out of thine own mouth will I judge thee, thou wicked servant. Thou knewest that I was an austere man, taking up that I laid not down, and reaping that I did not sow. Wherefore then gavest thou not my money into the bank, that at my coming I might have required mine own with usury? And he said unto them that stood by, Take from him the pound, and give it to him that hath 10 pounds. And they said unto him, Lord, he hath 10 pounds. For I say unto you, that unto every man which hath shall be given, and from him that hath not, even that he hath shall be taken away from him. But those mine enemies, here's the point, but those mine enemies, which would not that I shall reign over them, bring hither and slay them before me. You see, that's how Christ is getting them. Bring hither and slay them before me. So when we go back and read in Samuel, that's why the Lord was saying, Samuel, they did not reject you. They have rejected me. Okay. Lemuel says there is no volume. Is anybody else can't hear me? Is there anyone else that cannot hear? I didn't see anybody else post that. The scribe can hear me because he's still posting the verses. So Lemuel, I think you got to refresh. All right, so let's go back. 1 Samuel chapter 8, verse 9. Now therefore hearken unto their voice, howbeit yet protest solemnly unto them, and show them the manner of the king that shall reign over them. And Samuel told all the words of the Lord unto the people that asked of him a king. And he said, this will be the manner of the king that shall reign over you. He will take your sons and appoint them for himself, for his chariots, and to be his horsemen, and some shall run before his chariots. Okay, okay. Hey, Benjamin, I ain't a captain, bro. I'm an officer, but all praises. Um, verse 12. And he will appoint him captains over thousands and captains over fifties, and will set them to ear his ground, and to reap his harvest, and to make instruments of war, and instruments of his chariots. And he will take your daughters to be confectionaries, and to be cooks, and to be bakers. And he will take your fields, and your vineyards, and your olive yards, even the best of them, and give them to his servants. And he will take the tenth of your seed and of your vineyards, and give to his officers and to his servants. And he will take your men servants, and your maid servants, and your goodliest young men, and your asses, and put them to his work. He will take the tenth of your sheep, and ye shall be his servants. And ye shall cry out in that day, because your king, which ye shall have chosen you, and the Lord will not hear you in that day. Nevertheless, the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel, and they said, nay, but we will have a king over us, that we also may be like all the nations, and that our king may judge us and go out before us and fight our battles. And Samuel heard all the words of the people, and he rehearsed them in the ears of the Lord. And the Lord said unto Samuel, hearken unto their voice, make them a king. And Samuel said unto the men of Israel, go ye every man unto his city. So I want to go back to the part in verse 11 down, when the Lord had instructed Samuel to tell Israel the manner of the king. All right, let's go to First Kings chapter 5. First Kings chapter 5 and verse 13. First Kings chapter 5 verse 13. And King Solomon raised a levy out of all Israel, and the levy was 30,000 men. And he sent them to Lebanon, 10,000 a month by courses. A month they were in Lebanon, and 2 months at home. And Adoniram was over the levy. And Solomon had 60,010 that bare burdens, 80,000 hewers in the mountains, beside the chief of Solomon's officers, which were over the work, 3,300, which ruled over the people that wrought the work in the work. But the king and the king commanded, and they bought great stones, costly stones, and huge stones to lay the foundation of the house. And Solomon's builders and Hiram's builders did hew them, and the stone squares. So they prepared timber and stones to build the house. Chapter 6, verse 1. And it came to pass in the 480th year after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt, in the fourth year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month Ziph, which is the second month, he began to build the house of the Lord. Okay, so he levied a tax, and the tax was men. All right, so when we go back to 1 Samuel chapter 8, verse 11 and 12, it says, and he said, this will be the manner of the king that shall reign over you. He will take your sons and appoint them for himself, okay, for his chariots and to be his horsemen, and some shall run before his chariots. And he will appoint them captains over thousands and captains over fifties, and will set them to ear his ground and to reap his harvest, to make instruments of war and instruments of his chariots. So what we're reading is in the building of the temple, he used the men. He levied a tax of 30,000 men, and just like men go off to war, he was sending them a month on, 2 months off, a month on, 2 months off. Okay. All right. Let's also go to where else I want to go. Let's go back to 1 Kings 9 and 22. Let's go to 1 Kings 9 and 22. It says, but of the children of Israel did Solomon make no bondmen, but they were men of war, and his servants, and his princes, and his captains, and his rulers, and rulers of his chariots, and his horsemen. These were the chief of the officers that were over Solomon's work, 550, which bear rule over the people that wrought in the work. Okay. So these are precepts. These are just a couple of precepts to show when when Samuel was telling the people the manner of the king over them, and we agreed this is the manner of that king. These are the things in which he did. Now, um, let's let's jump over. I didn't have this, but let's jump over to First Kings 12. 1 Kings 12 and 1. 1 Kings 12 and 1. And Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Israel were come to Shechem to make him a king. And it came to pass when Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who was yet in Egypt, heard of it, for he was fled from the presence of King Solomon, and Jeroboam dwelt in Egypt, that they sent and called him. And Jeroboam and all the congregation of Israel came and spake unto Rehoboam, saying, Thy father made our yoke grievous. Now therefore make thou the grievous service of thy father and his heavy yoke which he put upon us lighter, and we will serve thee. So remember, what are we reading? We're reading about how Samuel was warning, uh, he was warning the people, the children of Israel, about the manner of the king that would be before them because we rejected the Lord. All right, let's jump down. So we're going to read about Rehoboam's response, because remember, Rehoboam, he didn't go to the elders that were with Solomon. He went unto the young simple men that he came up with for counsel. All right, now, 1 Kings chapter 12, verse 10. And the young men that were grown up with him spake unto him, saying, Thou shalt speak unto this people that spake unto thee, saying, Thy father made our yoke heavy, but make thou it lighter unto us. Thus shalt you say unto them, Thy little finger shall be thicker than my father's loins. And now, whereas my father did lade you with heavy yoke, I will add to your yoke. My father chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. So Jeroboam and all the people came to Rehoboam the third day as the king appointed, saying, Come to us the third day. And the king answered the people roughly and forsook the old men's counsel that they gave him. Okay. So again, we rejected the Lord. We wanted a king like all the other nations. This is what we got. And we look today. What do we have today? Uh, um, we get a so-called black man as a king or the president over us, and things don't get any better for us. Instead, the LGBTQ community is profiting. Then what do we get after that? We get Trump, who spake. He tried to speak like he was for us when he said, try Trump, right? But what have we seen under Trump? We've seen violence increase. We've seen Esau being just outright, you know, defiant in how they approach us and deal with it. They've always hated us, but that hate is really coming out and it's really starting to show. So it's everywhere, saying you can't sell water, little girl, because you're black. You black people can't be in Airbnbs. You black people can't be barbecuing. So um, this is what we get. We are getting what we deserve because we rejected the Lord. What the heck? All right. All right. So let's go back. First Samuel chapter 9 and verse 9. I'm sorry, chapter 9 and verse 1. First Samuel chapter 9, verse 1. Now there was a man of Benjamin whose name was Kish, the son of Abiel, the son of Zeror, the son of Bechorath, the son of Aphiah, a Benjamite, a mighty man of power. He had a son whose name was Saul, a choice young man and a goodly. There was not among the children of Israel a goodlier person than he. From his shoulders and upward he was higher than any of the people. And the asses of Kish, Saul's father, were lost. And Kish said to Saul his son, take now one of the servants with thee, and arise and go seek the asses. And he passed through Mount Ephraim, and passed through the land of Cilicia, but they found them not. Then they passed through the land of Shalem, and there they were not. And he passed through the land of the Benjamites, but they found them not. And when they were come to the land of Zuph, Saul said to his servant that was with him, come, let us return, lest my father leave caring for the asses and take thought for us. And he said unto him, behold, now there is in this city a man of God, and he is an honorable man. All that he has said cometh surely to pass. Now let us go thither, peradventure he can show us our way that we should go. Then said Saul to his servant, but behold, if we go, what shall we bring the man? For the bread is spent in our vessels, and there is not a present to bring to the man of God. What have we? And the servant answered Saul again and said, behold, I have here at hand the fourth part of a shekel of silver, that I will give to the man of God to tell us our way. Before time in Israel, when a man went to inquire of God, thus he spake, come and let us go to the seer. For he that is now called a prophet was before time called a seer. So he that is now called a prophet was before time called a seer. All right, so let's go back to the book of Genesis. Let's go back to the book of Genesis, chapter 25 and verse 21. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife, because she was barren. And the Lord was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And she went to inquire of the Lord. Let's go back to 1 Samuel 9 and 9. Okay. Before time in Israel, when a man went to inquire of the Lord, thus he spake, come and let us go to the seer, For he that is now called a prophet was before time called a seer. So that's who in that time foremother Rebecca went to inquire of the Lord. She went to a seer. All right. Then said Saul to his servant, well said, come, let us go. So they went unto the city where the man of God was. And as they went up the hill to the city, they found young maidens going out to draw water, and said unto them, is the seer here? And they answered them, and they answered them and said, he is. Behold, he is before you. Make haste now, for he came today to the city. For there is a sacrifice of the people today in the high place. As soon as ye be come into the city, ye shall straightway find him before he go up to the high place to eat. For the people will not eat until he come, because he doth bless the sacrifice, and afterwards they eat that be bidden. Now therefore get you up, for about this time you shall find him. And they went up into the city, and when they were come into the city, behold, Samuel came out against them for to go up to the high place. And the Lord told Samuel in his ear the day before, saying, tomorrow about this time I will send thee a man out of the land of Benjamin, and thou shalt anoint him to be captain over my people Israel, that he may save my people out of the hand of the Philistines. For I have looked upon my people, because their cry is come unto me. All right, their cry is come unto me. I just thought about let me find this precept right quick. Let's see, let's see. Where is that? Yes. Okay, let's get Proverbs 20 and 24. You know why I didn't have this precept in my Bible. All right, Proverbs chapter 20 and verse 24. Man's goings are of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own way? Okay, so it says, man's goings are of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own ways? Let's go back. 1 Samuel 19 and 16. Tomorrow, about this time, I will send thee a man out of the land of Benjamin. So, what is that saying? The Lord has already told Samuel that he was going to send Saul to him. So Saul, he thought he was going out to fetch sheep, but what was his purpose? His purpose was to be led unto Samuel. Okay, a man's goings are of the Lord. And thou shalt anoint him to be captain over my people Israel, that he may save my people out of the hand of the Philistines. For I have looked upon my people, because their cry is come unto me. And when Samuel saw Saul, the Lord said unto him, behold, the man whom I spake to thee of, behold, the man whom I spake to thee of, this same shall reign over my people. Then Saul drew near to Samuel in the gate and said, tell me, I pray thee, where is the seer's house? And Samuel answered Saul and said, I am the seer. Go up before me unto the high place, for ye shall eat with me today, and tomorrow I will let thee go and tell thee all that is in thine heart. Verse 20. And as for thine asses that were lost 3 days ago, set not thy mind on them, for they are found. And on whom is all the desire of Israel? Is it not on thee and on thy father's house? And Saul answered and said, am not I a Benjamite of the smallest of the tribes of Israel, and my family of the least of the families of the tribe of Benjamin? Wherefore then speakest thou so to me? And Samuel took Saul and his servant and brought them into the parlor and made them to sit in the cheapest place among them that were bidden, which were about 30 persons. And Samuel said unto the cook, Bring me a portion which I gave thee, of which I said unto thee, Set it by thee. And the cook took up the shoulder and that which was upon it, and set it before Saul. And Samuel said, Behold, that which is left, set it before thee, and eat. For unto this time for unto this time hath it been kept for thee, since I said, I have invited the people. So Saul did eat with Samuel that day. And when they were come down from the high place into the city, Samuel communed with Saul upon the top of the house. And they arose early. And it came to pass about the spring of the day that Samuel called Saul to the top of the house, saying, Up, that I may send thee away. And Saul arose and went and Saul rose, and they went out both of them, and Saul arose, and they went out both of them, he and Samuel abroad. And as they were going down to the end of the city, Samuel said to Saul, Bid the servant to pass on before us. And he passed on. But thou stand still a while, that I may show thee the word of God. All right, so let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 10 and verse 1. Then Samuel took a vial of oil and poured it upon his head and kissed him and said, Is it not because the Lord hath anointed thee to be captain over his inheritance? When thou art departed from me today, then thou shalt find 2 women by Rachel's sepulchre in the border of Benjamin at Zelzah. And they will say unto thee, The asses which thou wentest to seek are found. And lo, thy father hath left care of the asses and sorroweth for you, saying, What shall I do for my son? Then shalt thou go on forward from thence, and thou shalt come to the plain of Tabor, and there shall meet thee 3 men going up to God to Bethel, one carrying 3 kids, another carrying 3 loaves of bread, and another carrying a bottle of wine. And they will salute thee and give thee 2 loaves of bread, which thou shalt receive of their hands. After that, thou shalt come to the hill of God, where is the garrison of the Philistines, and it shall come to pass, when thou art come thither to the city, that thou shalt meet a company of prophets coming down from the high place with a psaltery and a tabret and a pipe and a harp before them. And they shall prophesy. And the Spirit of the Lord will come upon thee, and thou shalt prophesy with them, and shall be turned into another man. And let it be, when these signs are come unto thee, that thou do as occasion serve thee, for God is with thee. And thou shalt go down before me to Gilgal, and behold, I will come down unto thee to offer burnt offerings and to sacrifice sacrifices of peace offerings. 7 days shalt thou tarry till I come to thee and show thee what thou shalt do. And it was so that when he had turned his back from going from Samuel, God gave him another heart, and all those signs came to pass that day. Okay, it said God gave him another heart, right? Let me see if bear with me just a second. Okay, let's go to the book of Ezekiel 36. The book of Ezekiel, chapter 36, verse 26 and 27. It says, A new heart also will I give you, and a new spirit will I put within you. And I will take away the stony heart out of your flesh, and will give you an heart of flesh. And I will put my spirit within you, and cause you to walk in my statutes, and you shall keep my judgments and do them. Okay, that was Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 27 and 28. So let's go back. 1 Samuel chapter 10 and verse 10. All right. And when they came thither to the hill, behold, a company of prophets met him, and the Spirit of God came upon him, and he prophesied among them. And he prophesied among them. And it came to pass, when all that knew him before time saw that, behold, he prophesied among the prophets, then the people said one to another, what is this that is come unto the son of Kish? Is Saul among the prophets? And one of the same place answered and said, but who is their father? Therefore it became a proverb, is Saul among the prophets? And when he had made an end of prophesying, he came to the high place. And Saul's uncle said unto him and to his servant, whither went ye? And he said, to seek the asses. And when we saw that they were nowhere, we came to Samuel. And Saul's uncle said, tell me, I pray thee, what Samuel said unto you. And Saul said unto his uncle, he told us plainly that the asses were found, but of the matter of the kingdom whereof Samuel spake, he told him not. And Samuel called the people together unto the Lord to Mizpah, and said unto the children of Israel, thus saith the Lord God of Israel, I brought up Israel out of Egypt, and delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians, and out of the hand of all kingdoms, and of them that oppressed you. Because now we have to remember, we just came out of reading in Judges, and we were oppressed by many nations in Judges. Okay, because every time one of our judges would rise up and deliver us from oppression, we would get right during the life of that judge, and then what would happen when that judge died? We went right back into our folly. Okay, verse 19. All right, verse 19. And ye have this day rejected your God, who himself saved you out of all your adversities and your tribulations. And ye have said unto him, nay, but set a king over us. Now therefore present yourselves before the Lord by your tribes and by your thousands. And Samuel had caused all the tribes of Israel to come near, the tribe of Benjamin was taken. And when he had caused the tribe of Benjamin to come near by their families, the family of Matri was taken, and Saul, the son of Kish, was taken. And when they sought him, he could not be found. Therefore they inquired of the Lord further, if the man should yet come thither. And the Lord answered, behold, he hath hid himself among the stuff. And they ran and fetched him thence. And when he stood among the people, he was higher than any of the people from his shoulders and upward. So he was real tall, like Deacon Athan. He was taller than everybody. All right. And it says, verse 24, and Samuel said unto all the people, see ye whom the Lord hath chosen, that there is none like him among all the people. And all the people shouted and said, God save the king. Then Samuel told the people the manner of the kingdom, and wrote it in a book, and laid it up before the Lord. And Samuel sent all the people away, every man to his house. And Saul also went home to Gibeah. And there went with him a band of men whose hearts God had touched. But the children of Belial said, how shall this man save us? And they despised him and brought him no presents, but he held his peace. And that's just like us today. Um, you get men that get raised up, and instead of brothers being happy for that man being raised up, brothers might feel like that should have been me. You know what I'm saying? Not knowing that they got things that they have to work on in their own spirits, not realizing that with rank comes responsibility. And we've been through this before, because you should already be doing the work. So you got men that'll despise other men instead of blessing them and being happy that, you know what, we got repentant men and we got men that are being raised up for order's sake in Israel to help set the nation in order. All right, so that's why the scriptures refer to them as the children of Belial, the children of the damn devil. All right, haters, the haters club. All right, let's go to Samuel, 1 Samuel chapter 11 and verse 1. Then Nahash the Ammonite came up and encamped against Jabesh Gilead. And all the men of Jabesh said unto Nahash, make a covenant with us, and we will serve thee. And Nahash the Ammonite answered them, on this condition will I make a covenant with you that I may, well, on this condition will I make a covenant with you that I may thrust out all your right eyes and lay it for a reproach upon all Israel. So he want to poke everybody right eye out. All right, blind you in one eye. All right. And the elders of Jabesh said unto him, give us 7 days respite, that we may send messengers unto all the coast of Israel. And then, if there be no man to save us, we will come out to thee. You see that? We keep putting our trust in man, even to the point where we had to contemplate letting a man poke our eye out. Come on. Hey, that's a destroyed people. We crazy. We are crazy. Then came the messengers, this is verse 4. Then came the messengers to Gibeah of Saul and told the tidings in the ears of the people, and all the people lifted up their voices and wept. And behold, Saul came after the herd out of the field, and Saul said, what aileth the people that they weep? And they told him the tidings of the men of Jabesh. And the Spirit of God came upon Saul when he heard those tidings, and his anger was kindled greatly. And he took a yoke of oxen and hewed them in pieces and sent them throughout all the coasts of Israel by the hands of messengers, saying, whosoever cometh not forth after Saul and after Samuel, so shall it be done unto his oxen. And the fear of the Lord fell on the people, and they came out with one consent. And when he numbered them in Bezek, the children of Israel were 300,000, and the men of Judah 30,000. Hey, Judah, get a special shout out. All right. And they said unto the messengers that came, thus shall you say unto the men of Jabesh Gilead, tomorrow by that time the sun be hot, ye shall have help. And the messengers came and showed it unto the men of Jabesh, and they were glad. Therefore the men of Jabesh said, tomorrow we will come out unto you, and ye shall do with us all that seemeth good unto you. And it was so on the morrow that Saul put the people in 3 companies, and they came into the midst of the host in the morning watch, and slew the Ammonites until the heat of the day. And it came to pass, they which remained were scattered, so that 2 of them were not left together. And the people said unto Samuel, who is he that said, shall Saul reign over us? Bring them in, that we may put them to death. And Saul said, there shall not a man be put to death this day, for today the Lord hath wrought salvation in Israel. Then said Samuel to the people, come, and let us go to Gilgal and renew the kingdom there. And all the people went to Gilgal, and there they made Saul king before the Lord in Gilgal. And there they sacrificed sacrifices of peace offerings before the Lord. And Saul and all the men of Israel rejoiced greatly. Okay, so that's uh, 1 Samuel chapter 8 through 11. We read about the first king of Israel, all right, which was Saul, all right, and we read about the victory over the Ammonites, all right. We read about the manner of the king because we rejected the Lord. Okay, so with that, I'm gonna wrap up the reading for today. The IUIC 4 chapters a day. Remember, we got classes 3 times a day, 7 days a week. Remember to support the Booster Club. Remember, we have the Day of Atonement coming up. We got Feast of Tabernacles coming up. This is a time of the year that if you got to opt with your brother, if you got to opt with your sister, now's the time to get right. Okay, get right before the Lord. Okay. If you have questions on today's readings or previous classes, go on the Facebook 4 chapters a day. All right. And ask the questions to the captains, and the captains will give you the wisdom in the scriptures. All right. So with that, I'm going to say shalom. Again, I'm Officer Kimmy Well of IUIC Orlando. So brothers and sisters, stay safe and stay in the spirit.